I wanted to get this coach on because I think he has been he and his Army football team has been royally screwed. And I don't normally start a conversation with an editorial comment like that, but that is the way I am bringing in the head coach of Army football, Jeff Monken. How are you, Coach?
I'm great. Thanks for the opportunity.
No, you bet. I wish it was different circumstances, quite frankly. So can you walk everyone through about how you learned that you did not have a bowl opponent for the Independence Bowl and why the bowl is not being played, et cetera, and so on and so forth? Can you set the table, if you don't mind?
We've had an agreement with the Independence Bowl since the middle of last season. They were gracious enough to partner with us to play in their game in 2020, 2022, and 2024. We were thrilled for the opportunity. It's a great bowl game, a historic bowl, and obviously with the season we've had, we were excited on Sunday morning to find out finally who we'd be playing in the game. And as the day went along, we started to get word that we may perhaps be getting shut out, and it it's just the system that is in place, which gives a lot of teams an opportunity to play. It gave us an opportunity to play in 2016 when we were 7-5, and we were considered a 5-win team because of our schedule. We got in. There were enough bowl games, and I love that. I love that we've got a lot of opportunities for teams to be able to play. And so we wanted to partner with the bowl games to have an automatic tie-in, just like the conference teams do, which we do. And I'm not privy to all of the conversations or all the information, but the Independence Bowl, they extended invitations to some other teams that either weren't interested in going to the Independence Bowl or weren't interested in playing us, and were able to go to other bowl games or just opted out entirely and said, rather than going to the Independence Bowl and playing Army, we're not going to play at all. And for whatever reason, they've got their reasons. But that left the whole bowl system with less inventory in terms of teams than there are bowl slots. So as of yesterday, there were an odd number of teams that wanted to play, and obviously you need an even number of teams to satisfy everybody. And with the conference affiliations with bowls and the agreements that have been in place for those teams and those conferences, those bowl games, we were shut out. And it's just very unfortunate to have a season like we did and have a great senior class like we've got. Those guys were devastated to get that news, as you can imagine. Our guys have looked forward to the opportunity to play, and so we're kind of sitting here with our fingers crossed. We certainly don't want to wish ill will on anybody, but we're just hoping that somehow, some way, that maybe there'll be a team that can't play or decides they don't want to play, that we'll be able to fill that slot, and our team's ready to go if that's the case.
Yeah, the Army West Point Director of Athletics, Mike Buddy, saying that your team everyone deserves better, period. That's an excellent way to put it. So you beat Air Force, you get the Commander-in-Chief trophy, and you're feeling high, and then you get this news, and it just is a gut punch. Why do you think? And I said that there are teams having reasons, and I understand there are some teams that will be like, you know what, it's COVID-19. If we have one less game of exposure for our players, that's one way to put it. Are teams afraid to play you? You think too?
Oh, I don't know why they would be. I mean,
well, you're good.
Well,
we
don't have anybody get offered scholarships by a whole bunch of other teams that play football at this level. So, we're not an overly talented team. I think we got a good team. We got guys that play hard and care about each other and execute well, and that's why we've been able to win. But I guess what I don't understand, Rich, is we've fought really hard for this season. Everybody in college football. There were conferences that essentially opted out in the middle of the summer, and teams in those leagues and individual players in those leagues and parents of those players fought and protested, and we got college football back. And so some of those same teams fought so hard and wanted so badly to play this season. Now when the bowl season comes up, they don't want to play, and I don't understand. And I know that everybody's been through a lot, but I would tell you I don't know that anybody's been through more than our players have. To come in here on June the 1st, which they did, and some of them, now our travel squad have been off campus 3 times. We had 3 road games this year. But for our guys that don't travel, they haven't been off campus. They haven't seen their parents. They haven't been through the McDonald's drive-thru or anything like that since June 1st. So our guys have been through a lot, and yet they remain committed to wanting to finish this season and play in a bowl game, and they've earned that opportunity. And so I know teams have been through a lot. You know, I hear the stories, and you know, Brennan's team up there at San Jose, they practiced at a different college the whole year, and Stanford's been practicing in a different place. You know, I get it. There's been people been through a lot, and it's been different for every college football player and every team. But this team, these young men, have made a commitment to this nation. They've made a commitment to every one of their brothers that plays college football that we will defend the freedoms and our way of life after we graduate so that football players and football teams and fans can continue to enjoy this game the way we do, that no other country in the world celebrates college sports like we do. You know, that's on the backs of our men and women who have served, who continue to serve, and those that will serve. And we are uniquely positioned as an academy to play in a bowl game. The only academy that is prepared to play in a bowl game this year to represent all those men and women that serve. And I will assure you that we've been through a lot, but our families of our soldiers, sailors, and airmen all over the world, those that are deployed and haven't seen their loved ones for a year, who are going into harm's way every day, they're going through a lot. And they deserve to be represented by a group of men who wear their colors and who are uniquely positioned to represent them. And you know, that's why I want our guys to play. Because not one, they want to play, but 2, who we represent makes it all that more important, in my opinion.
Because as you point out, Coach Jeff Monken of Army football, you know, there are many bowl-eligible teams who have been through a lot and have had to sacrifice in a manner that, let's be honest, we are asking, you know, teenagers and men who are just getting out of teenage years to do, okay, and sacrifice so we can enjoy football. But there's only one bowl-eligible team who is about to, in the future, go through a lot, as you point out, for us as a country. So do you point this out to teams that may be interested in playing a bowl game but then say no to you? I mean, is that something that you do tell them? Like that there's...
I'm not involved in those conversations. That's at a much higher level than me. Mm-hmm. And
well, is that,
I'm sure that
is that being communicated?
Sure that people understand that. And you know what? They're not obligated to give us any charity. They're entitled to play in whatever game they want and say yes or no. And that's what our guys are going to fight for. Yeah, the freedom for all of us as Americans to say yes or no and not be told what to do. And our guys proudly will do that, I promise you. But you know, we want an opportunity to play, and it really would have taken just one more team to opt in and say we'll do it. And so now we're just kind of in the position of waiting. Our guys are preparing. Our players said, Coach, we want to prepare in case something happens. We want to be ready for the opportunity. And you know, you talk about going through a lot, and to sit here and want to continue to prepare and practice and plan, you know, to fundamentally try to get better as a football player, not even knowing if you'll ever have a chance to play again for these seniors, that says a lot for these guys, and that's why I'm fighting so desperately to get them an opportunity.
So what is, again, as you say, it's going on up the flow chart here to try and get an opponent. Who's helping? I mean, who's here? I mean, who's part of the, if you will, cavalry? What do you got?
Oh, we're just advocating for our team, and at this point, I don't wish ill will on anybody. I don't want anybody to have an unhealthy team, but the way college football has gone this year, 20% of the games have been canceled or postponed.
Mm-hmm.
I can only assume that there's going to be some bowl games that are, that are left kind of, okay, what are we going to do? We've got a team that tested with too many guys positive, and they don't have a healthy enough team to play. We need to play this game. Army's going to be there ready to go. So if that's kind of what we're preparing for, if that would happen, that we'll be prepared to play.
Jeff Monken, Army football coach here on the Rich Eisen Show. Before I let you go, again, I know we've been talking about how the system is an unfortunate system, but in terms of coaches poll, you are part of it. And I did see your poll through USA Today, your final coaches poll submission. And I'd love to ask you why you chose Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, and Texas A&M as your top four, with Indiana and Notre Dame, Cincinnati, Oklahoma behind them. How did you go about your process, Coach?
Those are all great football teams, and it's really hard to try to decide who the best teams are, who the most worthy teams are. Any one of those teams,
mm-hmm.
if they expanded the playoff to 8 teams, I think all 8 of them deserve to go. They all have a chance, and they all might be able to beat any one of the others. I really believe that. Those are all really, really strong, outstanding, well-coached football teams. But I, like everybody else, kind of had to evaluate, and I try to watch as much college football as I can. I vote in that poll, and I take it seriously, and I think it's my duty to know as much as I can about each of those teams and watch them carefully, and I've tried to do that. And I just felt like the 4 teams that I put as my top 4 were at this point the best teams, the teams that were perhaps most worthy of having the opportunity to play for a national championship, and comparing scores and opponents, and I guess recently how they played, and have they played well down the stretch and at the end of the season. I think that matters, not necessarily how you played at the beginning, but how you played at the end. And they were hard decisions, because I have tremendous respect for all of those coaches, all 8 of those schools that you mentioned,
mm-hmm.
and for college football coaches in general. I grew up a coach's kid. I've always been around football. I love coaches and what they do for young people, and their commitment to people development. And it's hard. It's hard to knowing that that's going to be public, and people say, why didn't you pick our team? But I just felt like those were the right 4, in my opinion, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. And it's why they have a lot of people vote. And there's, obviously disagreement on all accounts.
Coach, I appreciate the call. I appreciate what you are doing and what you are attempting to do for your players. And can you thank them all from all of us here again for, I know currently they're defending and their own figurative turf right now, but in advance of doing that for us and defending our Constitution as they're about to do, and the molder of these men that you are on the gridiron and in the locker room and in the campus and in the community, I say thank you. And you deserve an opponent. I'd love for you to get one. And thank you for the call.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, and I can tell you the only thanks that our guys need is the opportunity to serve their nation. That's thanks enough. They consider it an honor and a privilege to do that. I love our guys. I love these players. And I know they want to play, and so I will fight tooth and nail to get them the opportunity. And perhaps it'll happen, and perhaps it won't. But we're gonna make every effort to reward these guys. They deserve it. And Rich, thanks a lot for the opportunity. And
anytime.
Keep talking about this team, because they're a great bunch of guys.
My pleasure. Thank you, Coach. Thank you for the call. There you go. I love that. I love that. Beat Navy.
Go Army, beat Navy.
I know, but he's also saying that this team will represent all those who serve our country.
He did say that.
But at the very end, though, beat
Navy. His own version of Go Hawks.
Oh, baby. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.